Unleash your inner strength to beat fatigue with Patriarch's Liquid Oxygen. Pure spring water, oxygenated for ultimate vitality. Refresh, detox, and empower your freedom-fighting spirit. Boost your immune system with Patriarchs, the oxygenated water designed for resilience and vitality in every sip. Use my special discount code as well to get 10% off any Patriarchs order. It's patriarchs.us/Tron. I do earn a commission every single time you do make a purchase, and it goes directly towards assisting this show. The Randomness of Nothing podcast listeners, this is your host, Rashad Woods. It's always an honor and a pleasure to talk to people who are accomplished. And this guest actually reached out to me, which I still have to pinch myself about because that's not supposed to happen with as much as she's accomplished. Markette Sheppard is a media powerhouse. She has her own publishing company, is an Emmy Award winner, and all around has built media empires from the ground up. And here she is today to share her tips and insights on her career and success path. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And by the way, you're a Harvard graduate as well, too. I mean, what haven't you done?
Well, I went to their executive education program and I got a digital marketing certificate. So I don't qualify as a Harvard graduate. I'm a proud California State University alum, but I'm also a lifelong learner.
Okay. Well, my apologies for that, for misspeaking on that. So,
I mean, it's a good group to be a part of.
Yes, still. That being said, please tell a little bit about your background, please, because you have a lot of accomplishments behind your name.
Well, thank you so much. I'm flattered. Well, I started out as just a girl with a dream of storytelling. Grew up in Los Angeles, California, and I used to do little news reports on the front lawn. And one time I got my dad to hold our home video camera, and I had a little microphone from a Christmas present I got, and I just started doing news reports. Yeah. And from there, I never really let go of the idea of, television is so powerful. Yeah. I have something to say always. You know, I was the kid that had the teacher's note that said talks too much.
This guy.
And, it was like a bad thing when I was growing up. Yeah. But now everybody with a podcast and an Instagram or a TikTok talks too much. We're that group of people. We grew up to have a platform. Yes, went to Cal State University, Dominguez Hills undergrad, moved to Washington, D.C. about 2 weeks after I earned my bachelor's, and stayed and worked at BET.com when it was based in Washington, D.C.
Amazing.
A bunch of other media outlets. I did radio for the NPR affiliate in Washington. I was a movie news reporter based in New York for AMC Theaters. Their digital platform does movie interviews and reviews. And then I got into morning show hosting. And I'm most known for hosting a morning show on the CBS affiliate in Washington, D.C. and had a lot of fun with that and realized that there's power in holding the mic. But the real power is with the people you never see and hear. It's with the executives who own the media platforms. Beautiful. And I decided that I wanted to be a leader in that space. So I launched a women's health and wellness platform called GlowStream TV.
I saw that.
Where, it's a great platform. It's been around for 5 years now, where I interview the world's leading experts on everything from health, wellness. I interview authors. It has several podcasts as a part of the platform. And it's all about helping people who I call glow getters, right? You want to glow up. You want to live your best life. You're tired of people telling you who they think you are. You want the world to accept who you are as you show up to them.
Absolutely.
And this platform is for them.
What's so wonderful about that is that I think that the democratization of the process, I probably butchered that, but the democratization of being able to be part of the media without the traditional background, when you talked about you can be TikTok, you can be YouTube, and then ultimately, if you're willing to stick through it, your qualities will really show. So I think the fact that now you have this era, post 2018-ish, where people feel more comfortable saying, hey, I think I can do this and be successful at it. And when you said behind the scenes, that also gives you a chance to tell stories that otherwise wouldn't have been told. People who are successful or have something to get out that can bypass the walls that were in front of them previously to talk to somebody like yourself and get a platform and really share their stories out, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, really, the old school traditional media model is as a young journalist or someone who would like to be a professional storyteller. Maybe you want to be a producer, not on camera, but behind the scenes, writing the stories and picking the people to interview. You have to go and interview. And, it's like going to the Wizard of Oz, and there's a man behind a desk who says yes or no. Yes or no, you can have the privilege of telling stories. And usually that person behind the desk isn't really reflective of a majority of the people.
Right.
And so media is democratized now.
Yes.
And the more trained journalists who are going out there and starting their own platforms, I feel like the more diverse storytelling that you can get,
Right.
more authentic storytelling.
Right.
You have people like Joy Reid,
Yeah.
Jamel Hill,
Right.
Don Lemon,
Right.
Carrie Champion.
Right.
The list goes on and on of people. They have reached the pinnacle of their careers at national media, cable networks, and they have returned to entrepreneurship.
Right. Correct.
And there's a reason for that. And I am a working journalist. I work 9 to 5, and I don't run and operate Glowstream TV anymore
Right.
because I work full time, but it's still in my family.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud to have founded something that has a life beyond me, right?
That's amazing. So, the fact that, you nurtured it and then you're getting sponsors. And what was that like doing that, the real work, when you say behind the scenes, the real work comes when nobody's looking, right? Everybody sees somebody with makeup and headset on and, oh, this is beautiful. It's part of my morning commute, but they're not really thinking about the work behind the scenes and the script writing and the preparation that's involved with it. I mean, I do a podcast, right? And I'm by myself, and I'm like, it's a lot of work that people don't seem to really understand what this really entails until you actually start doing it. And can you describe that process when you're building the company off the ground and you're by yourself and you're trying to navigate life at the same time?
Absolutely. It was incredibly frightening. I was launching Glowstream TV right at the end of my 4th year at the CBS affiliate in Washington. And I've told this story before. It's no secret,
Okay.
and I wanted to be a leader. I wanted my own show. After 4 years, I had 7 different co-hosts rotate in and out. They kept firing people, but keeping me, so I was the hard-working steady of that show that I was hosting. And then finally at the end of the 4th year, they were just kind of like, well, we kind of like you, but we kind of don't. Here's a contract.
Yes.
But if you find something better, we're not going to hold you back.
Well.
And I was like,
wow.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you. I got on the phone. I registered my website. I hosted a launch party before I even launched I invited all my girlfriends and media contacts to a launch party. I got Netflix to sponsor it.
Wow.
Because and it was called Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph came out with a chick flick, a girls trip movie called Wine Country or something. And they were looking to publicize it. And so the marketing company reached out to me and they were like, Markette, can you market this movie on your show? And I was like, well, I quit my job, but I got this thing that I'm starting. And they were like, Markette, we like you because you're the type of woman that we want to watch this show. So tell your followers about this movie.
Wonderful.
They paid for the launch party. I got a videographer there. It was crazy. And I thought, me with my little 3,000 followers, like that's valuable.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Isn't it, and so what's funny is that, I don't want to deviate too much just off of topic of you because it's about you. But when you actually start putting your hat, so to speak, in the arena, sometimes you don't know who could be watching. Now, you had a platform, right? And you have done wonderful things. Here I am interviewing you, and I'm just a guy, outside of Detroit trying to figure out navigating these waters. And I'm like, I seriously, when I got your email, I had to do a double take. I'm like, no, this ain't for real. And then I read it again, and I'm like, no, this is serious. So to your point, the biggest fear is not trying. Like, get over not trying. Get over not putting your hat in the arena. you're like you said, you got that confirmation from them that it was like, yeah, it's time for me to move on. And sometimes being scared means you have to just move forward anyway, because
Well, I wasn't even, it wasn't even scared. It was like a little bit like delusional, like I'm going to make it with no experience. I'm an entrepreneur. And then it was also like, here I am, I'm a Black woman in America.
Yeah.
I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know as a Black woman in America, you cannot always depend on a system.
Right.
And so from that launch party with no website, I think I got the logo made and I put it on an iPad and I stuck it like on a iPad stand in the party.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's even worse.
But then, from there, I just put the word out. I'm starting my own digital platform. But I do want to say, for entrepreneurial spirits out there, I also made a very critical phone call right after that really negative meeting with the top brass at my so-called glamorous job at the CBS local affiliate. I called one of my show's sponsors. And I said, and I had done segments with them. They were talking about they were making millions of dollars based on being on my show. So I called them. I said, hey, I went to your job section of your website. I see you have a VP of marketing. I don't have any experience in marketing, but I know how to tell a story. And I can tell stories to your customers and potential customers to convert them into people applying for mortgages and car loans and personal loans. Will you consider me? Because I knew as a working mother and a Black woman, I was going to need a steady stream of income to support my dream. And where I was at, that wasn't it. And so they called me in and they were like, what is your experience with the CMS or Salesforce and blah, blah. And I was completely honest. I said, I have no experience with what was it? CMS.
The customer management tools and things like that. Yeah, retention.
Right.
So I was
like,
relationship.
Yeah, I was like Bubba Gump. I was like, I have no idea, but I know how to talk to people, and they trust me, and they's gonna buy your mortgages. I walked out of there. I said, let me do what I do and give me a budget to hire the experts to do all that other stuff. I walked out there making more money. With a job offer, making more money than I've ever made in my life, laughing all the way away from that toxic TV job.
That's, and so all it takes is, if you were to look at the qualifications, you could have talked yourself out of that. Like, but it was like, listen, I can freestyle this, so to speak. You give me the right connections. I have enough media savvy and I have enough business acumen that I can figure out the rest. You tell me who to talk to and I can work around this. I don't need to know the technical, know-how of something that I'm never going to utilize, but I can put the person there that knows how to do that. Then I can funnel the right information to them to get you the revenue that you're seeking. That's really what it was.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm a true believer in, God doesn't call the qualified. God qualifies the called. So I stepped out of a comfort zone, right? Yeah. Give you a chance to react.
Yeah, that was deep.
God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
That's deep. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So if God wanted me to stay in my little cushy TV morning show job, then he would have kept me there comfortably. Yeah. But I stepped out. I rocked it at that marketing job. And moved on during the pandemic, like everybody did, to taking care of my kindergartner who was in virtual school. My husband was trying to figure out how to do his job. Mm-hmm. And then, but when I moved on from that job, I still had Glowstream TV. Yeah. The website had launched. And I still had this thing that I was working on. And through word of mouth, someone called me and said, the Embassy of Angola is hosting this event and they need someone like you.
Wow.
And again, it was like God qualifying the call. I said, well, what do they need you to do? What do they need me to do? And they were like, well, it's the 400th anniversary of the first Angolans coming to the U.S. They're going to have this party at the Smithsonian National Museum of African History. Beautiful museum. One of my favorite museums ever.
I still haven't been there.
And so I go to the meeting and the ambassador and all of the attachés are there Look, I've never, ever had a meeting at an embassy before. And there's all these people sitting around a table. They're serving tea in China. Like, so they're serving you tea in those beautiful cups and almost like, you're like at an exquisite dinner, but it's just like Tuesday at the embassy of Angola. And they're going around and they're like, and Markette Sheppard is here from Glowstream TV, and she's going to help us do our media, marketing, PR, and she's hosting the event. And that's when I found out what my job was.
So you're like, okay, well, since you said that, I guess I got to figure it out on the spot right now, right?
So, again,
and your face can't show that.
Can't show it. But again, I was like, I'm no longer a TV host who comes in and does my makeup and interviews people. I wrote the press release for that, but I based it on, as a journalist, what makes me answer the call from a publicist. Right. Okay, let me put this in here. Let me put that in there. Right. I did host the event. They speak Portuguese in Angola, so I figured out a way to greet people obrigado, when they came in. Jeez. And they asked me my fee. And I said some outrageous number that I thought was more than what I was totally worth. Yeah. And they said, okay. And then they wired me the entire, and I was just like, what? This is how business owners. And so it was like I was with Prince Hakeem, from Zamunda. It was like no budget with these people.
I've ever had, I've done over 100 some odd episodes, 140 some. I've never had a Coming to America reference on a single episode.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
But no, it was like, what is your fee? And I was like, $7,000.
Yeah, like, what was that? Arsenio's character when he was trying to get the money, and she was like, and then the lady in the train, and the cash station is just staring at him like this, like, sure, that's awesome. That's fantastic.
That experience helped me to believe in myself.
And those are the things that you aren't taught. If there's nothing that you can, I'm not disrespecting college, but there's nothing in college that's going to sit back and prepare you for that moment. There's nothing a classroom is not going to prepare you how to navigate that. It's your experience, it's your business acumen, and it's your self-belief that you can actually ask for that fee, that you are worth that fee, that you can navigate being put on the spot on something you weren't quote unquote prepared for, but you were called for, and you were more than qualified, and your talent spoke to it, that you navigated that all at once. Because to be honest with you, that could have turned into the horror story of your life. If you were like, and I'm not really prepared for this. Well, they brought you there, so you got to just be like, okay, I'm gonna wire through this, because they don't know that we weren't prepared for that. Only you know that. And so as long as you don't project that, you're fine. Exactly.
And did I do a perfect job? No. But I was working with people who were excited about me. Here they are, usually with ambassadors. They have 2 and 3 year tours, and then they move on to the next country. So here they are, this whole embassy is full of African people, and they're excited about me as their African-American liaison to media. And did I understand everything? No, but they were forgiving as managers, or my clients, I should say, unlike the corporate experience I was having. And we had a fabulous event, and the cherry on top was the station that I left sent their top news anchor to cover that event.
And you're like, oh, by the way, I'm here.
That was my event, and it was so significant.
Oh, man.
The woman who sits behind the evening news desk came on site and covered that event.
And my thing. See, and what it did was, when you didn't sulk, when you plowed through, and for anybody who's listening, this is a real person talking. Sometimes when you see people, that are doing things, she's not AI generated. She really did all this. You can do this if you have the will and you have self-belief in yourself. And that's what this show was created for, to have moments like that. Because I'm telling you, I never would have imagined, without talking to you, that happened. Because no disrespect, I just hadn't heard of it before. So I'm glad you're able to share that story. And that is a wonderful, wonderful, successful story to tell. I'm blown away. I do want to talk about just, with your time being very valuable, your Markette Publishing. So can we get into that briefly about what that other avenue, because you clearly do so much other things?
Well, yeah, I mean, it all is kind of intertwined. I was hosting a morning show in Richmond, Virginia. This was before CBS. Mm. And I got the job in like 2 months before I found out I was going to be having a baby. And so I was pretty much pregnant the entire time I was at that job. And I was living in Washington, D.C. and driving to Richmond. So I knew it wasn't going to work out. I had the baby and decided I was going to, if I could write a script, I could write a baby book. So I'm at home with my son. I'm coming off of a morning show, and I'm just, for like the first year of his life, I'm basically just a stay-at-home mom raising the baby, doing a little bit of freelancing and consulting, but reading him books and filling my days, I noticed there was no diversity in baby books whatsoever. There were pictures of European looking children, and there were animals and shapes and colors and ABCs, but it wasn't a whole lot of children from the Black and brown world. So I said, okay, I know how to write a script. I'm about to write a baby book.
Beautiful.
And so my first book that I wrote was called What is Light? Because I was so happy to have my little baby. I just loved him. He was so juicy and yummy, and especially when they get about 6 months old, when they get plump.
Yeah, they start getting that in between stage where their facial features start to fill in and stuff like that. Yeah,
it was just so magical. So I wrote this little book to let him know that he was loved, and then I put it away. I hand wrote it in a notebook. I put it away, and I got a call from one of the executives at the Richmond Morning Show. And she said, Markette, I'm here at CBS in Washington now. I moved up here. We're starting a morning show. I took the general manager to your YouTube channel, and he wants to meet you. So you need to get in here. And I was like, I was 40 pounds overweight. And at this point, my baby's like 8-9 months old, and I'm nursing. Yeah. So I'm tired. And I go in there, and I don't have my TV makeup on, no fake eyelashes, not even a nice dress, because everything was like tight. So I had on the nicest thing I could fit, 40 pounds heavier than I am. I go in there and I'm tired, right? And I just remember smiling and giving my best. And the general manager and president talked to me the whole interview. And I was just like this. And I just remember one thing he said. He said, you know what, Markette, I like you because you look like women at home who's going to be watching the show. He was like, you don't look like Erin Andrews. Yeah. You look like some stay-at-home mom. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, thank you. He said, don't worry about it. He said, don't worry about this job. This is your job. He said, I'm going to call you in a year. And I was like, a year? Yeah. What am I going to do in a year? Right. I was like, yeah, okay. So I left. I didn't follow up. To his credit, he called me in a year. I had lost the 40 pounds. I walked into that job ready. Yeah. And it was magical. That GM left about 2 years into my tenure, and somebody else came in. But it was all very magical and very much, I believe, God-given. But when I started to see a turn in, in the culture during commercial breaks, I would sit down and write. Beautiful. I would write baby books. Beautiful. I never gave that up.
That's wonderful.
And I remember turning to my co-host, one of my many co-hosts, and I said, it's not a matter of if I'm going to get a book deal. It's a matter of when. And at lunchtime every day, I would run across the street to the post office, and I would put a manuscript in the mail to a different publisher.
That's awesome.
Every day.
That's awesome.
And then I would email them. And that was my one thing that I would do every day for my book publishing dream. And eventually I got the call, and I landed with a fabulous editor and publisher by the name of Deneen Milner. Look her up. She's legit. She's the real deal. She's at the top of her game. And she's known for writing celebrity memoirs like Taraji P. Henson. She wrote Magic and Cookie Johnson's memoir. Yeah. She wrote Amy Leake's memoir. Everybody's. But she was changing her career to focus on children's books. So I was one of her first writers. And again, I didn't have the qualifications as a children's book writer, but I said, I am on one of the top TV stations in Washington, D.C., in one of the top TV markets in the country. And if you sign me as your children's book author, I will bring that audience with me and they will buy my book.
Yeah.
So I'm just using what I have.
Yes.
To sell them. And they gave me a book deal, and that book went #1 on Amazon in pre-sales before it was even released to the public. It was #1. And that's on my Instagram. I took a screenshot.
And like I said, I know that you have time is valuable. And I just want to say, for people who think that there's not an audience to be served, look no further than sinners, right? So what you think may not be a successful, this doesn't have an audience, so to speak. Look, I'm a child of Blade, right, from 1998. Sinners does really well, last year and has 13 Oscar nominations. You rocketed to the top of the charts. So for those who think that there's not an audience, I would challenge people to say there could be people starving for that are really eager to it that you may not know, right? So that's the point, and that's why I'm glad you shared your story. Where can people find you? Obviously, you don't need me. You're very successful. For the purpose of this show, for the audience, where can people find Markette Sheppard?
Well, you can always find me online at MarketteSheppard.com. And I do want to say I do need you. There's always a new audience to be discovered. And the only way that I've been able to get anywhere in life was through communing with other people. And some people call it fellowshipping. But I have a brand new book out. This is under my own imprint for the first time. I went on to do 3 books with that editor, Deneen, through Simon & Schuster.
Wonderful.
And now I'm once again activating my entrepreneurial spirit for a book that's very near and dear to my heart. It's called Grandma D's Pineapple Upside Down Cake. It's dedicated to time that I spent as a young girl baking in the kitchen with my grandmother, Grandma D. And this book has a recipe inspired by Grandma D. It has her story about how she grew up in the South, moved north during the Great Migration, and used her talents, used what she knew, food, to make an impact. And so if I can just impart any words of encouragement to your audience, is use what you know to propel yourself forward and make a positive impact in this world. You can see a picture of Grandma D. You can see a picture of me when I'm 7 years old.
That's awesome.
On my website, MarketteSheppard.com, and you can pre-order the book there as well.
Markette Sheppard, I think that, to be honest with you, 30 minutes doesn't justify how much I would actually like to continue to talk about what you've accomplished, but for the sake of your time, I'm very appreciative of it, and that I'm honored to have had you as a guest on the Randomness of Nothing podcast. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I just would be remiss if I didn't shout out my place of work, Montgomery Community Media, a nonprofit TV station doing some fantastic work in the nation's capital, serving 1 million people of the bedroom community of Montgomery County, and I serve as head of news there. And I love that I work with a TV family who supports me in all that I am as a human being. So shout out to Montgomery County Media.
And it's an absolute honor and a pleasure, and I can't thank you enough. And it has been a wonderful episode. I'm looking forward to this airing, and thank you very much for your time, Markette Sheppard.
Thanks, Rashad.
Anytime. That was fun.